Hello, everybody, and welcome to the Fan Forum. Chelsea won, Manchester United won. There's so much to get into. I mean, a game that I thought was destined to end up 0-0 ended up having some drama towards the end. And I think there's lots of positives that Manchester United can take out of this game, and also lots of learning curves as well. We've got a lot of things we're going to get into, a lot of controversies that some people might agree on, might disagree on. And yeah, we're going to get all into it now with the guests that we've got here. And we've also got a Q&A coming up at the end as well. So make sure that you have your questions ready to give to the panel, Q&A around the game. And yeah, we can ask the panel some questions as well and get you guys involved. But yeah, make sure you get your comments in down below. But let's get into it. We've got Charlie.
Hello.
Yeah.
Feels like a loss.
I expected a bit more of an enthusiastic intro to yourself then.
I didn't really know what to say, to be honest.
And Jordan as well. Good result?
Yeah. Not a good result, but from where we were 1-0 down, being robbed, yeah, it feels good. Feels good.
Yeah, and Kev, obviously you don't want to draw these games. You want to win them, but at the end of the day, it was one of them moments where you are kind of jumping around your living room, like happy that you get that draw, isn't it?
Redemption, man. The derby's coming back for the Fan Forum. It's been a very, very long time, and on reflection of it, thoroughly deserved. So it's something we will get into. I'm looking forward to it, man. And all the comment section, get it going, man. You know what I mean? Let's do this.
Yeah, everyone comment Casemiro down below because he's just a monster. But Charlie, starting off with the first half, I want to just kind of talk about that for a minute. Manchester United seemed to carry on where they left off at Spurs, but obviously we had no one to put the ball in the back of the net. Is Rashford not scoring these chances again? Is that worrying you?
I mean, yeah, of course, right? It would have been a completely different game if he did bury the. I think the notable chance where he should have done better was obviously where he tried to kind of lift it over Kepa, didn't he? And Kepa did well, to be fair. But I think for me, of course, it's a little worrying because if you score that goal, it's a completely different game. But at least at least we're still creating the chances, right? If we weren't creating the chances, then it would be probably even more worrying. But I think Rashford over the past 2 games will be kicking himself that he could be nearly on like double figures for goals right now if he scored every chance, or these are clear cut chances pretty much as well. They're not long range shots and that, so it's a little bit disappointing, but at least we're creating them.
Yeah, it's like, Jordan, the narrative around Rashford could be so much different if he was putting these chances away. We know that his shots are so inconsistent. It's either bottom corner, top bins, or it's just straight at the keeper or completely off target. You never know really what you're going to get with Rashford. I thought that first chance, his first touch, massively let him down. He should have been doing better with it. And then there's another chance as well where I think he could have done better. The same at the Spurs game, could have had a hat-trick. Is it the fact that we just need someone more clinical, or do you think that this might come for Rashford?
I don't think it's going to come. It's going to come from Rashford. I think we've seen over years he's not a number 9. His best form is when he's coming off the wing, and I think when the onus is on him to be the goal scorer for the team, he just doesn't deliver for us. And the good thing is that we do have a manager that is ruthless enough that if there was the right player to bring in, I think he would drop Rashford or make that decision to move him out to the left wing. But I think the talk was always that we don't create chances for the number 9. But the last couple of games, can't say that. Mm-hmm. We are creating chances. And I think this is where the Ronaldo FC are kicking off and firing back, because they're like, well, if you had a Ronaldo up there, somebody that could score goals, we would be finishing some of these chances. But they're falling to somebody who, like you said, is hitting the goalkeeper or constantly putting it to the same side. So that's where you can see that, there is a frustration. But ultimately, like I keep saying, we are only in the first phase of this rebuild. We can see the signings that Ten Hag has made are making a massive difference. Look at Casemiro today. Like, we talk about Martinez being the defender we've been crying out for. Casemiro's that defensive midfielder that we've been crying out for years. So if we back the manager and trust him to bring in players that he knows will fit into the system, he wants to bring a forward in, the right forward in. I'm confident that forward will come in and score your 20, 25 goals a season for us.
Yeah, absolutely. I think a good point touched on Ronaldo there. I think out of all the games he's played, this probably was the best game for him to play in, because you could see that Rashford, it wasn't really working for him. When he didn't have them chances, he was out of the game quite a lot. And then I think Ronaldo, he may be a little bit more of a slower paced game, which I thought it was, he could have definitely scored a few of them chances, but unfortunately weren't available. Kev, do you think it's if and buts, but do you think if we had Ronaldo today, he'd be able to come on and make a difference?
Such an easy thing to say, Beth, but at the end of the day, he has ruined that opportunity for himself. And again, we talk about Ronaldo fanboys and whatever, you know, they're probably sat there going, oh, if Ronaldo was there today, if he's got them chances that Rashford has, you know, he sticks him in the back of the net. In hindsight, it's a beautiful thing to be able to look back. But listen, whatever you think of Ronaldo, Wednesday night, he ruined that opportunity for himself. And I am thoroughly 100% Ten Hag in his decision this evening not to include him in the squad, because this is a power struggle, and Erik Ten Hag has to be seen to be in charge of these players. And it's brilliant because the Tottenham performance was fantastic. Then you get a first half performance today, which again was pretty much what we seen the other night. Manchester United, for me, absolutely dominated. Tweet out at halftime, hope these missed chances don't come to kind of haunt us, which at a stage when Jorginho scores that penalty, you're thinking, oh God, you know, it would have been smash and grab from a Chelsea perspective. I'm sure every single one of us were tearing our hair out, totally pissed off, thinking we do not deserve this. And at the very, very least, we deserved a draw. You know, you look at half time on reflection, if somebody said it's going to be 1-1, you'd have been disappointed the way Manchester United had played. You know, Potter did react today. He reacted. He knew the midfield battle. They were getting totally overrun. Jordan, quite rightly, there's so many players you can mention, but Jordan quite rightly says about Casemiro, you know, this guy is starting to show his class, man. And when we were subjected to a midfield last season of McTominay and Fred, and now you've got Casemiro and Eriksen. You know, Eriksen misses a game because he's ill, comes back in, and he just does all the simple things so well. The blend in midfield, absolutely brilliant. We run the show. Chelsea reacted to that. They could have possibly won it on another day. They didn't, because Casemiro's header, you know, look at that, man. It is absolutely sensational. Maybe if a Haaland, a Messi, somebody else scores that goal, maybe it gets more rave reviews and what it should do. But it was unbelievable. And that is United in a nutshell at the minute. I've got the connection back with the players. Like you've just mentioned, Martinez, you know, the chance of Argentina after the midweek game, he got, you know, emotional, walking to the Stretford end, chance of Argentina. We've got this relation back. You respect them players because you know they're giving it all. Dalot, most improved player under Ten Hag, most improved player I've seen in years. And we've been starved of this. You know, under Ole Gunnar Solskjaer, no player ever developed under that regime. And now we are starting to see players, you know, like just coming out of the shell. And you can tell that what they're doing on the training ground is starting to be put into games. And it's exciting. Listen, it's exciting.
Yeah, well, we've got a coach that's actually developing players and developing a style of play. I mean, Charlie, I'll come to you. Like usually, like a result like this, 1-1, you would be disappointed, and I am disappointed. But what excites me is, I thought, as a whole, bar a couple of players, the team played really well. I think you can see where it's going. You can see the potential in it, and you have Graham Potter who's having to make a change after 35 minutes, like Kev said. We've not had that in so long because we rarely dominate games. We're starting to actually dominate games against Spurs, and now away Stamford Bridge, that first half we completely dominated. The change did affect us, but can you see where Ten Hag's trying to go with this Man United team?
Yeah, of course. I mean, look, you can dominate a game for 45 minutes, which we did, but you know the second half was a lot different. It was a very different game. And you're right. Obviously, Potter did get, I think they said it on commentary, plan A wasn't working. So, you know, he's a proactive manager in the sense that, you know, some managers would wait till half time to switch it, whereas he switched it early on, which was definitely the right thing to do. As soon as Kovacic came on, it changed the game for Chelsea. And obviously they got a bit more of a hold of the midfield. But yeah, obviously it's the right direction. I said in, I think it was our Twitter space, that even if we were to play how we did against Spurs, that it still would be a different game. You know, Chelsea are a better side than Spurs, and they offer a different threat. And it's disappointing to draw in that kind of manner. I imagine we'll talk about the penalty, obviously, but it's just such a shame, because you just sat there and you're just thinking, like, you know, on a different day, that's 2-3-1. Even if you give them, you know, they still get the penalty. It's such a shame, but it's definitely, obviously, continual steps in the right direction, which is the main thing for me.
Yeah, absolutely. And Jordan, I don't want to obviously like bring the mood down, but Varane injured again, it seems, and it was a really sad like moment. And I did think it made the team morale go down, which shows how close the team. Well, any player or person doesn't want to see a player go down injured like that. But obviously, that back forward have such a connection. I thought they were all playing extremely well again with Casemiro in front of him. I'm generally it's a top defense with a top CDM in front of it. Lindelof came in and did a good job, but is it worrying that Varane could be out? Because by his reaction, which was really sad to watch, it looks like out of the World Cup potentially out for a long time.
Massively, massively sad and massively worrying. I think the only good thing is that he was able to get up and walk off. I think at one point when they started bringing the stretcher on and he was face down, I was like, this is really not good. This is really not good. And it was like a really morbid moment, wasn't it, in the game? It sort of just all stopped and everybody was really concerned. But the fact he got up and was able to sort of, you know, hobble around and walk off is a sign in the right direction. But when somebody's had, you know, as many injuries as he's had, and at the age he's at, he knows his body and he knows when something isn't right. So I think all we can do now is just hope for the best and hope that, you know, it's not anything too bad and it's something that can be managed. And we go from there. Lindelof, came on, didn't do anything wrong. But again, you just don't have that same confidence in the defense as when you see Varane in it. I think the relationship between Martinez and Varane is everything that we've wanted and more. And as soon as you take either one of them out and replace them with Lindelof or a Maguire, instantly there's just an insecurity in that back line that is something that is a throwback to, you know, previous teams. So the good news is we're fast approaching the transfer window. So if it is anything major, we are in a position where we might be able to do something about it.
Do you trust Lindelof to come into that team and keep the same levels?
No, not at all. Not at all. Short answer, not at all. I think we've just seen the standard just go, you know, raised so high with those two as a partnership that anyone else comes in, it just isn't there. I think you trust them to come in and play your cup games and maybe Europa League at the early stages, but at any kind of meaningful game, I think Harry Maguire or Lindelof as individuals will get found out.
The thing is, just quickly, and this is, I actually tweeted about when Lindelof came on, and loads of people were getting on to me about how, you know, he hasn't done anything wrong, etc. And like, fair enough, he hasn't actually had any bad performances, right? But there's levels between. You notice as soon as he came on, everyone just seemed as if like, oh God, like we've got some more protecting to do. You know, there's something different, and it was crazy that it seemed like we were playing with 10 men, like for a period. It was strange, but there's just levels between both of them, and there's, as Jordan said, there's just not the same level of confidence, composure, you know, anything really. But you know, between them, when Lindelof plays, I don't even want to speak about Maguire. But it's just there's just levels.
It does help.
Go on, Kev.
No, I was going to say it does help when you got Martinez. That gives me a bit more kind of confidence as a centre-back pairing. You mentioned Harry Maguire. For me, you could stick anyone next to Harry Maguire. It doesn't give me any confidence at all because Harry Maguire doesn't breed confidence into a Manchester United supporter. I obviously don't speak for everyone. But when you've got Martinez and you put a Lindelof next to him, yes, we all look at the kind of previous times and you look and you think Lindelof's, you know, he's not great. But for me, that is kind of testament to Martinez. It's almost like you can bring him in. And Martinez, he runs the show at the back. He is the leader. You know, you need somebody with a bit more height to compensate for Martinez. But I think he's been absolutely brilliant. And it's almost like if you do put somebody next to him, Martinez will talk him through the game, positional play a lot more than what our supposed club captain would.
Do you know, the other thing I'd just say about Varane missing is that the effect that will have on Casemiro. Those two have got a years worth of playing time together where they just naturally have an understanding with each other. And I think that has benefited the team. It's almost telepathic between them. So it'll be interesting to see, how that develops.
Yeah, it will be. I think Casemiro definitely gives. Not that Lindelof isn't bad. He's just not as good as Varane. And I think Casemiro definitely gives the protection that is needed for him. And Charlie, obviously, you were speaking about Casemiro then and how good he has been. I think he actually allows us to play this football that Ten Hag wants to play. And how important is he actually becoming to this team? And that goal at the end, it was literally it was world class from a world class player.
Yeah, what a header, by the way, unbelievable. And I'm glad it actually, because if he didn't push Scott out the way to header it, it was probably being completely different. And I want to say this as well, because everyone on Twitter, I'm so rattled, by the way, throughout when Casemiro scored, the amount of people that were tweeting me about that bloody video that has been mistitled of me saying bench Casemiro. It's 8 o'clock. I'm saying it's bollocks. It's bullshit.
Who did you dirty with that? Who did that?
Beth.
No. This is not what happened.
We're having it
I
out.
sent a title into a chat. It got very adapted. Anyway, we move.
It is, and I've had nothing but abuse, and I will no longer stand for it. Yes, there you go. United stand tweet it. Beth is to blame.
I need to get this message up right now. I'm going to get this message up to clear everything up with everyone. And to be fair, you did say in that video, Charlie, that Casemiro should stay benched if McTominay keeps playing well. I swear you did.
Yeah.
but Casemiro in that Sociedad game didn't play well, right? And McTominay was playing good. But now Casemiro I don't need to say it, but Casemiro is and will always be a better footballer than McTominay is, right? Like Casemiro could finish playing football 5 years ago and it wouldn't even still be a question. But it's just it's just so obviously, people are doing it to rattle me anyway, and it's worked. I can't lie, it has worked. But it's just funny that people can get onto you about this type of stuff, and Casemiro is just so good.
If anyone doesn't realise what you meant by that, then that's more for them, because anyone knows that people were saying at the time, while McTominay is playing well, he should be in the team. Most people are saying that. No one is going around saying Casemiro isn't a better player. Everyone knows it's obvious. So if you don't get that, then it's your fault for just not actually either watching or understanding what someone's saying. So yeah, you should look at stuff more clearly before you go and comment on stuff. But moving on, Jordan, speaking of McTominay, there was a penalty that I was livid because I'm sorry, this is something that Casemiro wouldn't do because he's got that experience, he's got that maturity. You don't want to compare because the two players playing for Man United, you want them both to do really well. But the stupidity of coming on that pitch and doing something like that, especially when Brozier, you can see it if you watch it back, he's pushing McTominay, he's trying to wind him up, and McTominay fell straight into the trap. And personally, for me, I think if the ref has a clear view, it is a penalty. There's penalties that we should have been given over the course of the last few games, of course. But what do you make of that? Do you think it is a pen, and how stupid is it, really?
I'd like. You're right.
Yeah, sorry, my window was open.
Beth Zuber's around.
It's the Chinese again, Beth, isn't he? He's outside.
Actually, I'm getting one tonight.
do you know what it is, guys? Like, I'd like to see somebody clip it up. It reminds me very similar to Liverpool striker Nunes, where he just got played. Just got to be a bit more streetwise. He deliberately got pushed and shoved, and then he reacted. He's grabbed him with two hands. And whether or not, it's a penalty or not, he's given the referee a decision to make. And you just got to be sharper. I think as soon as you put two arms around, it just looks bad. So for me, it was a penalty. And I know everyone's kicking off going, it wasn't a penalty. For me, it was a penalty. You've given the referee a decision to make. It doesn't look great with two arms around him. Brozier knew exactly what he was doing. He targeted McTominay, and McTominay played straight up to it. So yeah, it was a penalty.
Yeah, I agree. I think the fact it was right in front of the ref and the ball was going to Brozier made it worse. I think it was a penalty. If it was United, you would be screaming for it. Kev, what do you think?
100% a penalty. How can you argue with that? You know,
A lot of people are.
Are they really? Seriously? You know what I mean?
Mark's saying it's
kind
not.
that's the kind of stuff.
Do you know what it is,
Octagon or MMA or something? And fair enough, you know that's what you do. But McTominay really set it up there for. It could have all been this evening about, geez, you know, and then it would have been on 10 hard. Why has he brought McTominay on at this stage of the game? And
I think it was a penalty, but they just don't get given often enough. That doesn't mean it's not a penalty.
It needs to be more consistent.
But then you've got VAR, haven't you? You know, they can have another look at it. He refused to have a look at it. Didn't even go to VAR, which is, I still think if they'd have looked at it, it's a penalty. 100%.
The thing is, you shouldn't, regardless of whether it's a penalty or not, you shouldn't give the opposition the chance to, you know, put both arms around them and give them the opportunity for it to be a penalty in the first place. Like that shouldn't even be in question, you know, regardless of whether it is or isn't. It's just, why are you putting both your arms around the attacker going to try and head the ball? And
there's
you know,
no
all he
need
needs
to
to do is, yeah, exactly. There's no point.
No need at all. There was absolutely at that stage of the game, a critical stage of the game, which could have lost us. On reflection, we can look back and go, yeah, but you know, it really could have been a lot worse for Manchester United. And McTominay there has to learn from that. You cannot do that in your own box. To be doing that, like I say, fair enough in the octagon, MMA, whatever, wrestling moves. That's where that's out of it. That is not football. And you certainly, with all the eyes and cameras on you these days, you are not going to get away with that. Could have cost us. Thank God it didn't.
He would have had more luck trying to like shoulder barge him out of the way. 2 arms around him, it's just too obvious. But it is what it is. At least we managed to get the equaliser at the end of the day. But Charlie, a player that's been talked about a lot, and I want to move on to some positive, but you've got to bring up the key points of the game. And I saw a lot of people talking about this on Twitter. I was speaking about it a bit last game. Jadon Sancho was so excited for this player. He's had some good moments, but I've not seen him play really well consistently, like game after game. I think since he's arrived, and I think this game was just the poorest of the lot. Are you starting to worry about him?
Yeah, in all honesty, it's to the point where, you know, a lot of people are saying Elanga should be, you know, starting ahead of him. He offers, you know, at least he offers that kind of directness and pace, whereas Sancho, it just seems at the minute like sometimes he wants to, you know, he isolates his fullback to be in a one-on-one situation, but then forgets how to like take someone on, or, you know, even if it's just a 1-2, he's finding himself in offside positions a lot all the time. Not really. He's just not covering himself in any glory, I'll be honest. Like, he doesn't seem to have any shooting ability at the minute. There's just I don't know if it's a lack of confidence. I don't know. But as you say, he had a good start to the season, and I'm surprised that he hasn't used that and kind of thrived off of it, and then kind of, you know, gone on to even better performances. But I mean, look, the most frustrating thing is that technically he has all the ability in the world. He is a proper, you know, street footballer, and I've said it before, and he's just not performing. And you know, I think if Martial was fit, then I just don't think Sancho would be playing near enough, you know, anywhere near as much as he would, because Rashford would then go out on the left and then Martial would play through the middle. So it's a bit of luck for Sancho that Martial isn't able to get in the side at the minute.
The thing is, he should be taking this opportunity, and it just, like Kev, he doesn't feel like he's at 100% pace. It just looks like he's indecisive. Sloppy passes, passing it out of play a lot. To me, it looks like a player maybe low on confidence and needs maybe a bit of time on the bench to kind of sort himself out. Do you think maybe he's better on the right, people are saying?
I would have thought so. You know, you look at a point of that match today, and a huge point of the game was Anthony's chance just before half-time. It's on his right foot, didn't even know he had one, but he kind of slices it wide, and you almost thought that the net bulged and it's 1-0, and it would have been a fantastic half for Manchester United. And then it does go back to something that our very own Ricky has said on this show about inverted wingers, maybe playing players on the side where their stronger foot is, because it seems to be all designed. You've got Sancho out on the left who can cut in on his right, his stronger foot. Same with Anthony, out on the right, cuts in on his left foot. And there's very much, you've got the width, but there's no crossing ability because they are constantly cutting back. Sancho has been a huge disappointment last few games. I don't think he should be anywhere near that team at the minute. He has been really, really disappointing. You have to look at it. And then you think, well, what could you have changed today? Well, maybe, you could have had a Sancho or Rashford, whoever out on the right. Rashford out on the right. If you take Sancho out, Anthony on the left, totally changes things. But again, it goes back to this thing of, yes, you could have played Ronaldo up top, but you can't because he's made his mistake and he's going to learn from it. Again, can we rely on Anthony Martial, who had an absolute fantastic pre-season at Manchester United? And now, what are we in? 11 games into the season, and Martial is constantly injured. It's a huge problem. It's something we've spoke about in the private group chat, is about a number 9 at Manchester United. And it is glaring to every single one of us that now, last season, we were on about this, the midfield area, getting that boxed off. I think we've solved that problem, but now it's glaring, man, that we need a number 9. Some people might point towards Ronaldo and that we're looking long-term now, not short-term. We need somebody there to put the ball in the back of the net because Rashford is being kind of highlighted for what he is. And one of them things that he's not a striker. He's never going to be able to lead the line for Manchester United.
He's a left winger, and I think on his day he's a very, very good left winger, but he's not playing the position. If we had Martial, I think we'd have more points on the board. I think it's a shame that 2 of our best players, in my opinion, Varane and Martial, are injured. I think, especially with how much the team needs a number 9, even Martial, people would say, isn't an out and out number 9, but he can still do the job better than what Rashford would be able to do, in my opinion. And I think Rashford would play much better there with Martial. But on Sancho, Jordan, personally for me, I think Sancho needs a number 9 and he needs to be playing on the right. So I think if we had like an out-and-out number 9 and Sancho was playing on the right and he was able to get them crosses in, and we've seen him where he's dribbled 3 players and putting a really nice ball into the box before, I think it'd be a lot better for him. I think he should be maybe fighting with Anthony for that right spot when a number 9 comes in. Do you think maybe we'll see some improvement then?
I'm concerned about Sancho's form, but I'm not worried. I don't look at him and think it's not going to work for him at United. I think he needs time out with the team, and I think he needs Ten Hag to really get into him and really coach him and develop him. I think we thought we were signing the finished article, but he clearly isn't the finished article. He needs to, he still needs to raise his game and step up to the next level. I compare him to Anthony, and the amount of times you hear Anthony's name or players look for him as an outlet going forward compared to Sancho, it is night and day. And that's where Sancho needs to be. He needs to be influencing the game. If you're not... You're right there, Kev?
Sorry, I was just pulling me zip down then. Right. It might have sounded a bit wrong, that. Sorry.
If you're not scoring goals or creating assists, you still want to be influencing the game. I mean, Anthony is, but Sancho isn't. And I just think that, some time out of the team would do him the world of good. Whether that's giving Elanga a stint in the team, whether that's trying a youth player, I don't know. That something needs to happen. The situation for Martial is just, it's all ifs, buts, and maybes with him. I'd got to a point last season where I'd wrote him off and I was ready to sell him, move him on. He made it clear that he didn't want to be here. He's come back. He's had another chance in pre-season. He's played well, and then he can't stay fit. We are not in a position to be holding on for the 10, 15% of games that he's available to try and make a difference. It just can't happen. We're in the middle of a rebuild, and if we need to move on, we need to move on. So he's a player for me that we need to forget about, and we just need to crack on. It's so disheartening. Every press conference, when Ten Hag's asked the question about Martial, and it's like, yeah, he's just not available. Yeah, he's still not available. And, we've got to make movements. We can't not sign a striker because we're waiting for Martial to be fit. I think it's done now for me. And yeah, the answer isn't Rashford.
The thing is with Martial, I've come to the point with it where it's like, I just think of us without him, and then if he ever is fit, it's a massive bonus for us. Like, it's not some, we shouldn't really be thinking about him maybe long term as part of the squad if these injuries do continue. But it's such a shame because he is such a good player. But on the Sancho point, I just wanted to kind of say that I also don't think he's getting in the right positions. so many times Shaw's got the ball and he's either come short when he should be going long, or he's going long when he should be coming short, and bit lightweight as well. He really does need some time on the training ground with Erik ten Hag, I do think. And people saying it doesn't look like he's putting effort in. He is putting effort in. He's just not got the pace of Anthony on Rashford. But it doesn't mean he can't be a successful player for us, because he's got other skills he can bring. I just think he does need some time on the training ground, and I do think he'd benefit off a number 9 that's going to link up the play a little bit more. But moving on to a player I want to talk about, which is Diogo Dalot. Kev, I'll come to you because you were quite happy with this guy. I think Dalot's transformation has been incredible. Obviously, confidence does a lot. But I remember when this guy, you could see there was potential there, but he could not defend. Now, leadership, defensive awareness, beating players, brilliant positional sense, moving, doing the overlap if he needs to do the overlap, also cutting inside, beating players. I think he's doing really well under Ten Hag.
He is unrecognisable from the player that was under Ole Gunnar Solskjaer. And this comes down to great man management again. Erik ten Hag must have come in, seen something in him and thought, I can work with this. And this is what happens when you've got a good coach. Under Ole Gunnar Solskjaer, what was it? He must have looked and thought, nah. But he did buy Aaron Wan-Bissaka. That's on him. Spent 50 million, ships out Dalot to AC Milan. You know, he had a good time at AC Milan. But again, it comes down to this now where Erik ten Hag wants players that can fit his system. And as I said earlier, easily, man, the best, most improved player at Manchester United. And long may that continue, where players are actually getting better in their role. Because as you rightly say, Dalot was, we always looked at him, and I think a lot of us said, attacking-wise, he's better than Aaron Wan-Bissaka. But defensively, Wan-Bissaka was better. Now, when you can get a player and mould him into doing both them roles, which is the way the game's gone now, where you've got somebody that can defend and attack, Dalot's, you know, the last couple of games, man, he's looking like Cancelo for City. You know, there's almost times when you look and you think, this is ridiculous, man. The positions he's taking up on the pitch, how forward, you know, further forward up the pitch he's playing, unrecognisable from the Solskjaer days. And this is what happens when you've got the likes of Ten Hag, Steve McLaren, proper coaching. They've seen something in him and they are putting faith in him. Yes, there is this argument at the minute that is there anybody to push him at the minute? You know, he hasn't got competition for his place in the team. But by God, he's took it with both hands at the minute and nobody else gets anywhere close to him. Same with the left side now. Look at the way that Malacia has brought out the best in Luke Shaw. Exactly the same as when Manchester United signed Tellez. Luke Shaw has upped his game. And Luke Shaw, again, unless he gets an injury, will be in that team because he's been absolutely brilliant. And that is great. Competition for places, players in there on merit. And that's what we want at Man United.
The way that you bodied Mount as well early on in the game, Dalot, and kind of shut him down so early, I thought was really sets the tone. I think he's become less naive and become a lot more confident, mature, and his attitude, his passion is something you really want to see. He's a player that I've always wanted to do well. I'm glad it is kind of happening for him. I think the fact that Ollie didn't see anything in him and he was consistently playing Wan-Bissaka over him it just shows what kind of how poor it was. I mean, I don't want to go back, but Ollie's signings in general, it's crazy kind of looking back at it. But Jordan, Bruno Fernandes, good game, brilliant game against Spurs. I thought a very good game again today. Wasn't maybe as effective when he moved out to the left, but you were saying on the show, I think last time we did a show, that he's kind of, when we win, it's always because he's had a good game. Is this starting to show even more now, really? Because we kind of dipped again when we got moved out of his position.
Yeah, I think you need your big players to influence the big games. And, you know, if he's on the ball, in general, we play better. And what we needed was more big players in that team. Now we've got your Martinez, your Ericssons, and people like that. If they have a good game, we play well. You know, and it is that simple. But actually, talking about keeping it simple, I think that is why he's playing better. He seems to be keeping things a lot more simple than he was. These Hollywood passes and Hollywood shots and whatnot seem to have been toned right down. And I hope that's because Ten Hag's really got into him and told him to just keep it simple. And that seems to be the same for a lot of players. you look at McTominay, the reason he's improved is that he's just kept things simple. Wins the ball, passes to someone who knows what to do with it. Bruno looks, sees a pass and makes the pass rather than go for these crazy wayward shots. So yeah, no, I think he is playing better. And it definitely in the first half, it seemed like a continuation from the Spurs game. There was a drop in the second half, but the first half, we controlled the possession. I remember tweeting, towards half time, like we really needed to make that possession count because we were definitely on top in the game.
Yeah, I do think Graham Potter and Ten Hag, it was quite interesting to see how they were both kind of changing things, the way the game was going. I did actually maybe agree a little bit with what Neville said on commentary. He was winding me up at times on commentary, but when he was saying about that both managers towards the end kind of seemed like they were maybe shoring up not to get beat, I do think that was the case. I would have maybe if we, thing is, you look at our bench and there's not really much to offer, but on that, Charlie, a lot of people saying Garnacho should be given a go at this point. He's had no minutes. We've seen that the talent is there. Do you kind of want Ten Hag maybe to give this guy a bit of a chance? Because I think towards the end of a game like that, a player that's so hungry and wants to come on and do well, he's going to run every channel, he's going to defend. You see extra from players in that way. I think he deserves maybe a chance soon, do you?
Yeah, I mean, it's a big game to throw him on into, though, to be fair.
Yeah.
He's had 10, 15 minutes in the Europa League. I mean, and now we're talking obviously about trying to throw him on and get a winner against Chelsea. I mean, weirder things have happened, but for me, it's more, kind of needing him into the Europa League games, or maybe FA and League Cup. I'd say maybe we've got Villa in the cup coming up within the next month or so, right? So maybe you might see a little cameo or start from him and there. I think it would have been a lot to ask of him to bring him on in that game for me.
Yeah, I do think he's a player that maybe looking towards the Sheriff game that we might end up seeing. But with Ten Hag, you can see he's very strict on how he wants to play his teams going forward. I think you'll see strongest 11 again against Sheriff. Kev, what do you think about that? Moving on to Sheriff, do you think he's going to keep with his strength to keep the momentum going?
You have to keep the momentum going, and it's a game that we need the points from as well. We have left ourselves in that situation where we are needing to keep going to the end. We are not in a position to be resting players at this stage, and I like momentum. I think it's good. We've not had this for years. Again, to get a solid team and a spine to it, they have to be playing every week. So unless they're injured, then they play. And as you said earlier, I mean, the worst thing today is the Varane injury, and we're kind of all waiting with bated breath to find out, how bad that one is. And the two negatives today, I would say, from that game are that injury and how bad it's going to be. You can tell from a player's reaction. Somebody like that, what would you say, experienced, it's kind of dropping the head almost in tears. You know that it's going to be a bad one. They know deep inside. And the other negative, again, I would say, was kind of Sancho's performance. But yes, positivity, man. That's what it is, isn't it?
Yeah, exactly. We've got to be positive. It is upsetting. Varane's injured, really upsetting. Such an important player, but at least we didn't lose. At least we didn't give Chelsea the 3 points, and a good performance as well. That we're starting to see consistently good performances, which we've not had in a super long time. And I'm struggling to actually pick who was my man of the match. It probably would have it would be Casemiro because of that header at the end now. But before that, I was like, Dalot was great, Martinez was great, Varane was great before he came off, Bruno was good. There is players that are now consistently having good games each time they step onto the pitch. Just a quick one. Would all you three go with Casemiro for man of the match?
Yeah.
Yeah, good shout. Yeah.
Would you guys go with it? I just wanted to get people's opinions because before he scored that goal, I was really struggling to think of who I would actually go for. But that goal was just incredible. But we're going to get some questions in from the comments. So if you want to ask a question, guys, about anything about the games going forward, make sure you get your questions in the chat right now, and I'll put them towards the panel. And make sure you get your questions in. But go on, John.
I was just going to say, how do you guys rate these last couple of games then, with the amount of points that we've managed to pick up from them considering who we've played.
That's what
It's
you
more
have to
than what
look
I
at,
thought,
Jordan. Yeah, because a lot of people before this looked at Newcastle, Tottenham, and Chelsea, and obviously you look ahead and think, how many points are you going to get from them games? Is everybody satisfied? I think on reflection today, like I say, at halftime, you can look at it and go, you know, if somebody had said it's going to be 1-1, you wouldn't have took that because Chelsea, for me, were there for the taking. On reflection, when you concede a goal in the 87th minute and manage to salvage something from that, Newcastle result, again, I know, Jordan, you've looked at that and gone, maybe on reflection, it might not be a bad result because Newcastle are in form. And we totally tore apart Spurs. So to get the points from them games, I'm quietly happy. I think so.
To be honest with you, I expected more points. We should have won that Newcastle game. And I feel like we should have won the game today, if I'm being honest with you. I expected more points. I think, how many points have we got now? 5 points isn't good enough, in my opinion. But the reason why I'm happy is because the performances have all been performances where we should have won the game. And I think it's only a matter of time, and that strikers are massively important before this starts to click and these goals start going in the back of the net. So performance-wise, very happy. Points-wise, not too happy.
We're getting better and better. That's a good thing to see.
We are, and we're going into games
as well.
We're going into games and we actually feel like we're going to get a result out of them. Like, you know, that period towards the end of last season where we just like, we're going to lose this game. You know, every game we were going into, we couldn't see where we're going to get our next win. We're now going into games. We feel like we can be competitive. Yeah, I think we should have got more than 5 points out of them. But given what's happened around us, you know, we can live to die another day.
First question coming in from the chat is, I'll take this one to Charlie. Swap the wingers. Would you swap Anthony and Sancho around for the next game?
I mean, I don't. The thing is, there's no reason why they can't swap mid-game. Like, it doesn't have to, you know, be swapped and then it happen for the whole 90 minutes. They can swap after 20 minutes and then swap again, you know, in the second half. There's nothing stopping them doing that. But it's obvious, you know, Ten Hag is quite clear that he likes the inverted wingers and how that system works. So it's, you know, I mean, Anthony looks fine on the right-hand side. And realistically, why should he sacrifice his game if Sancho isn't performing on the left-hand side? Really, you know, why should they have to swap just because Sancho's not having the best of games?
Yeah, I like that answer, to be fair, because I think Anthony is massively growing into the team. Needs to use his right foot more 100%, but there's definitely a player there, and his passion, his mentality. I thought he was maybe in for a red card towards the start of that game when he got that yellow early on, but he looks like a good player, and if he's playing well on that right side, I agree with you. It'd be good to keep him going there, and it's a position he's always really been playing at Ajax as well. So it'll be interesting to see how Ten Hag shapes it. Maybe Sancho just needs to get dropped, to be honest with you guys. And Jordan, I'll bring this one to you. We've spoken about it quite a lot, but I just wanted to kind of hear your stance on it. Do you think that we will sign a striker in January? And if we did, who would be, if you can only have one and it has to be realistic, who would it be?
Well, I think we discussed that before, didn't we? I would go for Ivan Toney. I really would. I know there was a lot of chat amongst people about Danny Welbeck, but I would sign Ivan Toney. I think he's young, he's explosive, he's Prem proven, he can score goals, and he's goal hungry. I think that's the biggest thing for me. I just want somebody that lives to score goals, that doesn't want to flitter from wing to wing. They play through the middle, because the amount of times the wingers do pick the ball up and we give them a hard time for not crossing the ball, but then you look into the penalty area and there is nobody there. I want someone that plays through the middle and lives and breathes that position. So yeah, I'd really like to have a look at Toney, and I actually think he's gettable.
Yeah, I think he's gettable as well, to be honest with you. I think Brighton know what kind of team they are. I really do, and I think
Brentford.
we could definitely Brentford, yeah, can definitely get him out of here. We've
Welbeck's at Brighton.
Welbeck, you're thinking Welbeck? Yeah.
Ricky's in my head.
In your head.
Rattled.
Wonder what Ricky thinks of today. He'd be saying we'd be crying out for Welbeck, to be fair, and he should have watched. I won't get into it. But Seb Basin says, last year we're getting dominated in every midfield game. Now with Casemiro and Eriksen, we're completely running them, and that's true. And I think if we actually get a striker that can consistently score goals and he's goal hungry, I think that'll change as well when you come into the attacking third. You have more class, you're going to score more goals. But Kev, next question: is Lindelof good enough to make us win our coming games? And our coming games, by the way, Sheriff, West Ham, Sociedad, Villa, Fulham. It's a good run. Do you think he's good enough to step in?
I'm sorry, I was just listening to the first part of the question. Where, is he good enough to win us the games? I was going to say, well, obviously he's not. He's not going to win us the games, but is he good enough to step in? I do, and I reiterate my point from earlier that I think Martinez is actually that good that regardless of who you actually put next to him, I think a sign of a good player is somebody that can play that role, the leadership role, and actually make somebody else look a lot better than what they are. It's that calming presence. And again, I don't want to harp on about Harry Maguire, but I'm gonna. Why not? He doesn't bring that to the team. He does not breed confidence. I think whoever you play next to him, because he hasn't got any pace, so you need to kind of adapt to that. And when you've got somebody like Martinez, breath of fresh air, man. And I think Lindelof could, and time will tell. You know, these partnerships, we've seen the Varane and Martinez one hit off, but it takes games. It takes game time, them two players to get to know each other. And if the worst comes to the worst, and Varane, it is a bad injury, you know, you look at the likes of Lindelof coming in next to Martinez. And listen, I don't see it as being a major issue. And I put that purely down to Martinez and how revolutionary he's been at Manchester United, because I think he'll be big enough to take Lindelof under his wing and be able to, you know, like go through a game. And it's communication and everything. I think Martinez he's the butcher, man. Absolute beast. Love him.
Yeah, I think we are going to be better with Lindelof partnered with Martinez. We've seen that anyway when he's had to step in than with Varane. It is going to be a miss. But we've got to deal with these things. Squad depth's a big thing. Charlie, next one on to you. Do you think squad depth could affect our chances of getting top four? I mean, you look at Chelsea's bench today, and then you look at our bench. I think the first 11, ours is better, but the bench, theirs beats it by a mile. Do you think that's going to maybe be a downfall for us?
It's definitely a hindrance, as you say, when Chelsea are bringing on, you know, when you look at their bench, you're saying they can bring on the likes of even the ones who necessarily aren't even that proven. I don't even want to attempt to say his name. That young kiddie who they signed. I don't even know how you say his name. Like Chuck something.
Yeah, I know who you mean. The one from Aston Villa.
Like even these guys, and Brozier, who you know, we didn't know whether he was gonna or where he was gonna end up. They're a lot more intimidating, let's say, than, you know, when we're bringing on kind of Fred and McTominay and you know, you look at the bench, we've got Pellistri and stuff like that. It's just a little bit disappointing. Obviously, I mean, look, we've got what we've got, and as much as I'd love to say we need to go and bolster our squad in January, I just personally, I just don't see it happening. I'd love to obviously go and get 2 or 3 more players, but I don't see it. But I mean, it could be a hindrance, but we've got what we've got, and we've got to deal with it.
Yeah, that's the thing. Hopefully we will spend some money, but the World Cup's before then. We'll have to see when it comes to injuries and stuff like that. You never know. But Jordan, I've just seen one. Neville and Keane have just absolutely gone at it on Sky regarding Ronaldo. Massive argument. They extended the show. It's now over. But I think Keane was saying if Ronaldo would have started every game and Ten Hag would have put trust in him, he would have been leading goal scorer for Man United right now, and none of this would have happened. So my question to you is, do you agree with Keane on that one? Do you think he would have been leading goal scorer if he would have been played from the start?
I don't know about leading goal scorer, but for me, I would be playing him over Rashford. I can't see what Rashford brings to that team that Ronaldo wouldn't. And I feel Ronaldo would bring more. And this is my thing about this whole fallout about, you know, Ronaldo walking out the stadium and did Ten Hag deal with it in the right way and whatnot. The issue of should Ronaldo be playing and has Ten Hag dealt with the situation correctly are two different subjects. For me, Ten Hag's dealt with it in the correct way. He sent the right message to the squad that you can't have that. So I'm 100% behind the manager. However, for me personally, I would be playing Ronaldo over Rashford. Rashford is doing nothing in that side that makes me feel like he should be playing ahead of Ronaldo. Martial may be different if he was fit, but as it stands at the moment, I'd be playing Ronaldo.
What it is, Jordan, I think, is that it's not Rashford is better than Ronaldo, because he's not. It's the fact people think the team, and Eric Ten Hag thinks the team plays better with Rashford instead of Ronaldo. And to be fair, the stats this season do back that up. But obviously,
Ronaldo doesn't make them runs that Rashford does. But at the same time, you can flip it round, and Ronaldo will not get in at them positions today that Rashford got into. But if you could give Ronaldo Rashford's legs and that ability to close down his basic speed, then we're talking about a different player altogether. You know, Ronaldo is not going to do that. And for me, you have to adapt your whole system, or Ten Hag will, to get Ronaldo into that team. It's very easy to say just play him up front, give him the ball and he'll score goals. But Rashford's game is totally different, because he is working the front line, pressing from the front. Against Tottenham the other night, I thought Rashford was brilliant at doing that.
I agree.
And the press starts from the front, and this is where it comes to. I'm not for 1 minute slagging Ronaldo off, but if you're going to play that way, you need somebody who has got legs to do it. And unfortunately, Ronaldo finds himself at the grand old age of 37, nearly 38, where he is not capable of doing that anymore. Don't get me wrong, you put the ball into his feet, you play a great ball in from the wing, you know, he's one of the best headers in world football and that. United don't do that. We've seen it with Anthony and Sancho today. How many balls went into that box today if Ronaldo was available in the middle of, the 6-yard box? It's not happening.
I've said numerous times, I think people sometimes just look at the chances that Rashford miss, and they don't look at the whole game. Like his running that he does off the channels, the runs he makes in behind, the way he stretches the play, it opens it up for other players as well. And there is...
But he's playing as number 9. His job is to score goals.
Yeah, I know that, but also your job is to score goals. And I'm not saying Rashford isn't the answer at all. But the facts are we have won more games with him playing a striker than we have Ronaldo this season so far. And Eric Ten Hag is not playing him for a reason. So we need to kind of trust in the manager of what he's doing, in my opinion.
Yeah, 100%. I agree. We do have to trust in the manager, and results speak for themselves. I think it's too black and white to just say that the reason we're winning is because Ronaldo.
Oh no, it's not the reason. It's not the reason.
But the whole team is now playing better behind the number 9. I don't think we were playing this well earlier in the season. Casemiro's now in the side and has a higher ceiling than what McTominay has, and can pick a pass better than McTominay was picking. Anthony seems to have found his feet and doing more. There's loads of reasons why. For me personally, I would like to see Ronaldo in the team.
I just with the Ronaldo thing, it's just, I think if Martial was fit, we wouldn't even be having this conversation, because I think he'd be playing as striker week in, week out. It's just because Rashford and Ronaldo are complete opposite kind of ends of the spectrum. Rashford has his faults in the fact he's so inconsistent with his scoring, but his running is great, and he runs the channels so good, and he's got that edge to him where he can score goals through being, people can call him a pace merchant, but his pace can be deadly. Ronaldo's got that thing where he's going to get on the end of headers. If we put crosses in the box, he's going to probably score some of the chances that Rashford's getting if he gets some chances, but he also closes down space. And I think we force it so much when he's on the pitch as a team. So overall, I think we just do need a new number 9. But for example, Ronaldo in today's game, I would have brought him on. I think he would have been brilliant in today's game. Like, I would have brought him on early on in the game, but we obviously didn't have that option. So I have to just see. But everyone, get your questions in down below. And
one other thing on that Ronaldo point is that I also feel like he is a victim of his own success. That because he's never gone long periods without scoring or influencing games to the level he used to. That suddenly when he goes on one, the automatic response is he's finished, he's done. Father Time's caught up on him. But he's a striker. It's a confidence thing, and sometimes you just need to play through that. And Ronaldo, the class is permanent, as they say. Like, I really do feel like he could still offer us something. And I'm not saying that he can play every single game, but he can definitely offer this side something.
He definitely offers you something. We've seen that in games before. I'll let Charlie come in a sec, but we've seen that in games before. I think it was the ammonia game. I mean, ammonia aren't a side that you could judge someone off, but he was getting chances. He just weren't going in the back of net. I'm not part of this train where it's like Ronaldo's still the best player of all time, or he's still that, or Ronaldo's finished. Like, I don't think Ronaldo's finished, but do I think he's as good as he once was? And do I think he's not in the position to be saying I should be starting every game for 90 minutes? Absolutely not.
No, of course not. Listen, I'm not as good as I was last week. Do you know what I mean? Things change. Like it's natural. And the thing is that like why does it always have to completely split the fan base? Like some of the abuse is so toxic. Like it's mad. Like the way he acted was not right, and it doesn't set the right example to the team. He's come out. He's apologized in his own way. Hopefully now we see him play on Thursday and we can move on, because for us to achieve anything this season, you want somebody with his experience to be part of what we're doing. But that's how it should be.
But this is the problem, Jordan. It's like, I think he can definitely still offer us something, and I'd like to use him. But he's not done himself any. I don't want to go over old ground, but that Spurs game, walking off like that, he played the game before. He dropped in for a game where he knew Rashford would be the better option, and he was right. And he probably would have played today if he hadn't have stormed off. He still thinks he should be starting every single game, clearly. It's not as if Erik ten Hag's just not played him at all. So he needs to either accept his role, which is not going to be the main man, and still come in and still be an important player for us, or, I mean, walking off isn't going to do anything. So there needs to be, hopefully, that's the end of that through his apology anyway.
Yeah. It'll be interesting to see. I was going to say, see if he starts against Sheriff.
Yeah, do you think he will start, Kev?
I was just going to say, listen, Manchester United is bigger than Cristiano Ronaldo, and this predicament, the situation he has put himself in this week, has divided a fan base, if you can call it a fan base, because a lot of these people seem to be supporters of a player, which infuriates me that players of supporters, like follow a certain player wherever they go. It's all about Manchester United for me at the minute. I'm not into all this supporting individual players and that. The tweets I've received over the last week are absolutely laughable, man. Somebody today said that Ronaldo should have a statue at Old Trafford next to Sir Alex Ferguson. And I'm like, what? Because he built Manchester United. And I'm like, when? What age are you? When did you start supporting United? It's the Busby Babes, Duncan Edwards, stuff like that. And I'm like, do you even know the history of Manchester United? And you're carrying on, about a player that should have a statue. What, Cristiano Ronaldo? We are not Manchester City. We don't just hand out statues willy-nilly. It has to be somebody very, very much ingrained in the great history of Manchester United. And I respect everything Cristiano Ronaldo has done at Manchester United. I really, really do. But I think this week has been a right eye-opener on a personal level. I'm sure you're all the same. Whatever you've tweeted out about Ronaldo or put on social media, you have had a barrage, of kind of tweets and responses. You've been like, wow.
That's what infuriates me, because, right, well, the thing is about this is I don't want to spend ages on this, but people think if you think Ronaldo should be benched or you don't think he should be playing this game, automatically you hate Ronaldo and you're disrespectful and you're ungrateful. Ronaldo is literally one of my favourite players of all time. I absolutely loved him when he first came to United. I was so happy when he signed back for us last year, because I think the team would work better in the game against Spurs without him. Suddenly I hate Ronaldo and I'm a Ronaldo hater and I have an agenda. People on social media, I'm just not going to get into it, because it's crazy. Like, I feel like people sometimes just don't use their brains at all and don't understand that you can have an opinion without hating on someone, and don't understand the context of an opinion. But it's a weird one. But moving off that subject, positivity, we end up getting a point at Stamford Bridge, and moving on to Sheriff, a game that is a must-win game, because we want to finish top of this group, and to do that we have to beat Sheriff and we have to beat Sociedad at least 2-0. Charlie, you making any changes in this game? Obviously Varane is going to come out, but anything else apart from that?
I mean, personally, I feel like we could, like, in terms of, I feel like Sheriff regardless of the team we put out, should again be comfortable to beat these guys. But, I again agree with the momentum. We're going into these games with kind of full strength 11, and I mean, either way, realistically, I'm up for either way, as long as these players can keep putting in the performance kind of week in, week out. It's like 2 games every flipping like 4 or 5 days now. It's obviously ridiculous. So fair play to them. But I mean, I'd make some changes, but only just to kind of protect some of the players. But I mean, no other reason.
Jordan, you make any changes?
Yeah, I would. I would. I don't really want to see Ericsson start. I think he's so important to us in the league. I'd like to see him taken out, especially now McTominay's fit and we've got another option in there. And I'd also like to. I'd Wan-Bissaka's back. I'd like to give Delo a rest. I just think he's played so many minutes. If there's somebody else that we could play there, I'd like to see someone else play there. But other than that, no, I think it is about momentum, and we do need to get the points on the board before we can start making any kind of radical changes.
Kev?
Probably Sancho. I don't know whether anyone mentioned that then, but I really don't think he deserves to be anywhere near that team at the minute on current form. And if you want to rip it up, you look at it, and the man we just mentioned, Ronaldo, be fitting, wouldn't it, for Ten Hag again to make a statement? This is the player that did not want to be at Manchester United in the summer, wanted to move because he didn't want to play in the Europa League. And for Ten Hag to leave him out of a big Premier League game and then bring him in to a Europa League game to lead the line. If Sancho does come out, it frees up space. Probably Sancho will be the main one. Maybe Ericsson as well. He's another one you probably would look at wrapping up in cotton wool for fixtures ahead. But we're very close to the World Cup now, aren't we? We need to get through these games, get as many points on the board as we can, and then we sort of take it into unseen territory, which will be a World Cup, and then back into the hustle and bustle of the Premier League.
Yeah, absolutely. I agree. I think some changes need to be made purely for rest reasons, but hopefully we managed to get the 3 points we should do against Sheriff. We're on good form and we can carry this momentum in. We've got a good run of fixtures now. I was looking at the fixtures, our fixtures compared to Chelsea's. We should be pushing to get into them top 4 spaces before the World Cup does come. But look, thank you everyone for coming on. Thank you to everyone in the comments. Charlie, be good to have you on.
Yeah, it's just disappointing that we obviously couldn't be here celebrating another 3 points, but I'm sure we'll obviously get a big 3 points in the Europa League. I hate saying that word, them 2 words, Europa League, it's horrible. But a big 3 points in that, midweek, and we can, kick on from there again.
Yeah, absolutely. Jordan as well, thanks for coming on the show.
Yeah, absolute pleasure. Off to watch the rest of the UFC and then a little DJ set tonight. But yeah, all good. See you Thursday. Nice one. And Kev, just replaying that Casemiro goal for you tonight, I think.
Oh, it's too right. I'll be watching that again. I was actually going to give the main man a mention then. I was going to say, listen, at 1-0 down, we're all sat there as Manchester United fans looking at that. And then Casemiro, man, he had other ideas, didn't he? A looping header. It was brilliant, man. I'll be watching it back. Straight after this, I'll be watching it back. It was brilliant, man.
Everyone in the chat as well, thank you for getting your comments in. Good to see different opinions, various different opinions, and obviously great to manage to get a point in what could have been a worse result for us. But hopefully we get back to winning ways soon. But make sure you like the video, subscribe, get your comments in down below on what you think about the breakdown of what we just said. And yeah, we'll see you on the next one, everybody.